This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience.
David Housel described it best. We are living the whole of the Auburn experience. You can quantify it, you can qualify it through a variety of methods, times, peoples, places, things, items, experiences, but at its heart and at its core, it is all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, and of course, the Auburn family. Since it's about family, let's get some of those members in here. I'm your host, Kyle Loomis. Alongside me, as always, Mr. Austin Scott, back in chair number 2, getting ready, getting hyped in episode 90 for the 2024 football season. Are you excited yet, Austin?
Oh man, could I be ever? Under 2 weeks to go. 2 weeks from right now, we'll be figuring out what went right, what went wrong in Auburn's season opener. So I mean that's pretty exciting. It's hard to believe that we're almost there.
What went right? What went wrong? Hopefully there'll be a lot of right this year.
Yes,
I know we're all due for that. But that's coming up in a little bit here. We'll get to those things here. We want to get the show rolling off on a good note here, and of course we want to talk about Auburn potpourri stuff. But let's kind of set the table here, and we got to acknowledge right at the start, Austin, that school is back in session. Basically, as of the time most people are hearing this on the audio podcast. So we want to say a congratulations, a welcome to those of you that are joining the Auburn academic family officially as of tomorrow when we're recording this, but Monday when we are, most of you are checking this out. So Auburn family just got a little bit bigger, as it does every day, Austin.
Auburn school calendar, it feels like it's already in full swing with rush and bid day and all that comes with that. First day of school is tomorrow. And so which kind of stinks starting on a Monday.
Yeah, that's
but
weird.
You know what? That is exciting. Our church was full with students this morning. And that is always a sign that it is right here and it is back. And so welcome to them and hope everybody makes that 8 a.m. on a Monday morning tomorrow.
Hey, enjoy that first day because it's going to get tougher from here. There'll be a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of fun times, but enjoy it because you will never regret joining this Auburn experience in the way that you have as an Auburn student. Let's dive right into Auburn potpourri. We do not need to waste any time with this, Austin, because you talked about kicking off literally. I didn't even mean to do that. That was a nice little pun there. We need that on the screen now. Actually, I could, if I was ready for this, we should have done this little thing right here. That one's a little bit too long. It doesn't play as well over the audio portion too. It was Tony Stark blankly staring into the abyss after Kyle makes a bad joke. All right, enough of the jokes. How about Auburn soccer? I mean, how about Auburn soccer? Not only do they literally kick off the athletic calendar year for us, basically every year, I think it is, whether it's exhibition or the real season starting, but in their first actual game of the regular season, not only are they getting things started for us, but they upset the number 5 Clemson Tigers at the Auburn Soccer Complex. And I'm going to be honest with you, Austin. I've been talking about this program for years now at E2C Network. And it's not that I didn't have faith in them. But let's be honest, it's the number 5 team. It's the first game of the year. Things are probably, you got home field advantage, home pitch advantage, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this caught a lot of people off guard. Not so much the win, but how they did.
Right.
4-0, and it was in Auburn's control from the get-go. What a start for Auburn soccer.
What a start to start the athletic year you mentioned, but for Auburn soccer specifically, I thought when I was keeping up with the game, on my phone, and there was a few things that initially came to mind. The first thing was the Kieran Hopper revenge tour. So we're not letting that last year happen. It was an okay year. She's got a lot of talent on this team. And then the fact, like you said, that they just kept putting it on them, and it was an obliteration, a 4-0 score, a win over the Clemson Tigers. And then the third thing I thought of course, we're playing Clemson. Of course, we're playing Clemson in something.
Of course.
So, what better way to start the year than that right there? If that is any indication of what this athletic year is going to be, I think we're in for a treat, right?
Listen, you want us to talk about setting the bar high. Now, let's juxtapose this to something. Think about how we started the year unofficially last year. You know what? I've been doing this.
That was a big word for this
Thank
podcast.
You. Do I get a gold star since school
is
starting? If that's what it takes to get a gold star, then wow, we've set the bar real low. I want to also mention, you want to talk about starting this year. Well, it was unofficial, but let's remember Megan Schofield won the U.S. Women's Amateur to
Yeah,
start off and kind of kickstart things. And there was the Roland Toomer's Corner last year. I mean, we are just finding different ways each and every year outside of the big stuff like football and stuff, just to kind of get the year rolling. I love this type of stuff. This gets me
absolutely.
jammed up, jelly tied, if you like that expression.
Oh my. Well, we juxtaposed and jammed up jelly tide. We're starting off as good as we can here too.
It's about as
Yeah,
good as it can.
it was awesome. Looked like a huge home crowd too. So you love to see that. Hopefully a lot of people were able to make it out to the first Auburn athletic event of the year.
Absolutely. It's a great way to start. We're excited to watch them for the rest of the season. Plenty of other games coming up. So, folks, get on board and get ready to watch the rest of this season as it rolls around here. Let's talk about another sport. I like to mention this because we're in the middle of a rebuild for softball after changing coaches, because we have 2 co-head coaches now. But you're also going through a time where you're losing Maddie Pinta. You're transitioning in a lot of areas, which means, especially when you talk about pitching for Auburn softball, new coaching styles, new pitching style, just new perspective on way to do things. So that means probably new pitchers are definitely coming in, especially to fill the void of Maddie Pinta. I want to give you a name to be more familiar with. Haley Ray, I think is how you pronounce it. I may have pronounced that wrong. I've written that down wrong. But a softball transfer at the pitcher position from Cal State Fullerton. Now, Austin, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know Cal State Fullerton well in softball. I do know in baseball, that's a name that you kind of respect. And so there's a lot of correlation sometimes there between these schools. If their baseball program or vice versa, their softball program is good, then the other one is at least respectable. So I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't know a lot about this individual, that program, but I do know that not only the 2 head coaches, but the pitching coach as well stated that we're going to go out and find some people to do our best to fill the void, if you can, of Maddie Pinta being gone. And so they've done that at least, and they've done that already with bringing somebody in, but yet another one to add to the fold here at the pitching staff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's wise. That those coaches Coach Malvo and Coach Malvo coming in, you look at it and you think that they're your biggest loss is Maddie Pinta, and not because she left transfer. She is
because she's Maddie Pinta.
She's Maddie Pinta, and she has graduated, and done more than anyone could have hoped for here at Auburn. So I think they've done a great job addressing that room. Haley Rainey looks like she is the Big West pitcher of the year last year.
That's right. I forgot about that.
And so, I mean, no matter what, if you're the best in your conference, you have something. And so I think I saw she only gave up 2 home runs last year. So, wow. I mean, you have to be impressed with the competition she's playing. Certainly notable, but hopefully she makes just as big of an impact here at Auburn and inside the SEC.
Big shoes to fill, but big opportunities when those shoes needing to be filled. So we'll watch her and watch the rest of the softball team. Speaking about coming back, we're talking about school starting, all that stuff, sports getting going up. We've mentioned this, I think, previously on this show or live streams at E2C Network on YouTube, but Country's Barbecue, which is a little bit of a local staple, went away for a little bit of time because they were moving literally next door to a new facility. And if you've been around the Auburn, the Opelika area, you'll know this is one of the regular names, especially in the barbecue space out there. Not creating a barbecue war here on the show or anything like that, but it's nice to see one of those normal staples is not going away, but was just reinvesting for the future in that. So if you're a person that is looking for places to go try on your visit to Auburn, this is still there for you. I think they're just getting up and going now in terms of opening back up, but you even drove past it this week, I think.
Yeah, we got to see the new location. It's on Opelika Road, like Kyle said, right next door to the old one. The old one is no longer there. It is quite a parking lot, but it's a new building that hopefully lasts him many more years. A very big building, so hopefully plenty more tables to be in there. And sounds like the same great barbecue. So hopefully Kyle and I get to check that out soon.
Oh, hey, live show. We have so many great ideas.
Call us, Countries.
Live show from Country's Barbecue. From they still have the giant chair?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I think they do. I think I
heard surely.
Live show with Austin and Kyle sitting together up in the giant chair the entire time. That'd be quite hilarious and dangerous all at the same time. Final note for us, and this is one of those areas where I want to mention this as a kind of an Auburn topic, but it's like a general one as well. And this is about the SEC network. It is its 10-year anniversary this past week. 10 years that the SEC network been around. I'm gonna be honest with you, it feels like it's been much longer than that.
I couldn't agree more. I thought the same thing.
I was like, really? We just hit 10 years? But let's just appreciate what the SEC network has done. Yes, for college football, for SEC football, and for SEC sports in general. Like, it's given us a home place to watch some of these events that you had to buy a ticket to go at Auburn and see these individuals play. So that alone in of itself. But we're talking about some of the best documentaries about there. You've got the documentation of the prayer and Jordan-Hare, the kick six. You don't know, but actually that may be an ESPN one. But
Yeah,
the points there was, I think Mighty Ruthie, I think was another one on SEC Story.
Bo Barkley and the Big Hurt was on
Yep.
SEC Stories. Yeah.
And I think they also, I believe this was SEC Storied, Rowdy Gaines or something like that, one of his as well. So we're talking about some of the best stories within the Auburn space that have been documented on SEC Network over the last 10 years, not even mentioning just the events that we've been able to watch. So I guess happy birthday if you want to wish it to him.
Yeah.
SEC Network.
I thought the same thing. I thought, I've mentioned it before. I started at Auburn 10 years ago, and I was like, did we really? Like, was that all at the same time? And I now remember, because there, with any TV story, there's always what channel are they going to allow the channels? And I remember that being a deal of trying to figure out, does the dorm TV, is it going to have SEC Network, or where are the places that have it? So it's funny to think about that now. We don't even think about that, and we can tune into the Auburn game on SEC Network with no problem. Yeah. But it's only been 10 years, which is just shocking to me. So I think it'll be around for quite a while.
I think it's got a lasting impact and a mainstay to our repertoire of things that we pay attention to. It's not going anywhere. So happy anniversary, birthday, whatever, to the SEC Network. Keep bringing us those Auburn stories. And
please,
as we've told you 1,000 times, if you bring it to the Auburn people, they will show up in droves for you. So that's Auburn Potpourri, all the news of this week that we wanted to touch on before we get into our major topics. But let's start right here at the top. And we're starting with our second half preview of the Auburn football 2024 season. Now, to be clear, folks, this is not a prediction show yet. We will do that next episode, the last week up until the season. But this is just, let's walk through the season, talk about it. What are our feelings about it? What's happening in that game? What's the significance around it? I would highly recommend you go back and listen to that segment. We've put this segment out on YouTube. You can also find that segment on the audio portion as well. So you can get our perspectives of the first 6 games, which, as a reminder, let's see if I can do it by memory, Austin. Alabama A&M, Cal, New Mexico. It's in my head. Arkansas, Oklahoma, and then Georgia. The 5 home games stand and the 1 on the road. Go back and look at all of that. Let me ask you this to start off with, Austin. Is the first half easier than the second half?
Yes.
Not even waiting for me to get done. Why is that?
Well, I mean, you've got the obvious is that you've got the two of the kind of, I don't like calling them cupcakes, but the 2 of the non-conference lower division ish, if you want to call them that, games, right? Yep. You've got 1 in the second half. I recognize that. But then you've also got Cal, who I think we should absolutely respect. They played Auburn great last year. But you get that one at home. It's also a non-conference game. And so you look at that. Yes, Georgia's in there. That's kind of where the only thing with a leg standing for the first half. So, I think it's safe to say the second half is going to be a little bit more difficult, but that's about what you would expect in the SEC.
Yeah, and I think you're getting into SEC play that obviously informs things are going to get a little bit tougher. Now you throw Vanderbilt into the mix, we'll get there. That obviously eases things a little bit. I think just the simple fact alone that Auburn will have spent 5 games of the first half at home and will not spend the month of October at all in Auburn.
A tragedy.
And this is not just like you and I out of preference saying this. This is a bad thing for like Auburn, the city.
Yes.
The businesses, they need that in there to drive during the month of October. Yes, they're going to have it all they can stand through September. They're going to have all they can stand in December as well. But let's spread the love a little bit, okay? I'm just asking for the future from this day forward.
Oh boy.
No more.
That's
No
the look.
more.
It's no secret that's the best weather too. We all know that. It's just ridiculous. And we've ranted about that a few times on here before, so there's no need to go into it,
There's
but
no need for it.
it's ridiculous.
There's no need. All right, let's jump into it. Let's walk through the schedule a little bit with everybody and talk about it and see what we think. We are starting with game 7, Auburn at Missouri. It will be the early kickoff, which I believe is officially slated for between 11 and 11:30, something like that is the early kickoff.
Gross.
I know.
Gross.
It just says early on the official schedule for the SEC network.
Yeah, official. Well, we're not going to put times on the official.
We are going to announce so you all know exactly when to expect your games and can plan for your Saturdays in the fall. And then psych early. That's all they'll tell you. But that means that Auburn is for sure in store for whether you believe in superstitions at all. I am definitely a little stitious when it comes to Auburn playing at 11 a.m. on a road game. Auburn at Missouri. This game is with a Missouri team that a lot of people are high on right now. I'm not convinced one way or the other on them. What do you think? I mean, like, should we be worried about this one?
Like, I'm not big on Missouri. I think last year, no, it's not a fluke. I think they have an experienced quarterback, and they have a lot of pieces. I think Drinkwitz probably fits them really well, and I think he does a good job there. I'm not positive they're going to get the kind of year they had last year again. However, I'm a little stitious and then some. The 11 on the road is it has not been a good recipe for Auburn. I don't like it. I don't like it in a weird place like Missouri, who shouldn't be in this conference anyway. And that's going to be a weird one. I'll be very happy if Auburn squeaks out of there with a 10-7 win. So I don't know what that's going to look like. We'll talk about our predictions next week, but that's going to be a weird game. I just have a feeling.
And remember, folks, too, this is following the first bye week. So that's my other.
That is good.
Is it though? Is it though?
Well, after going to Athens, maybe.
Yeah, I think it is the most ill-timed. I get what you mean from like a recovery. We've been through the very busy time standpoint. Yes, I agree with you there. I just would much rather be having Vanderbilt coming up after that first game.
That's fair.
A Missouri team that's highly regarded at this point, whether it actually happens or not. So let's be a little stitious on that right now. Next game up, game 8, that it would be at Kentucky in Lexington. It will be a night game, which will be a lot of fun. I personally, having been to a game in Lexington for Auburn during the championship year, had a lot of fun there. It's a little annoying at times because they go first down Kentucky every time.
Oh wow, just like that.
Did you experience that, or they stopped doing that?
No, 5 years later than you went, but I did experience that.
I have that sound just. I wake up in a cold sweat at night just hearing that. It was awful. This one I think is going to be a lot of fun, to be honest with you, because the night game atmosphere, it's going to feel like a football game because it's a Kentucky. The weather will probably. This will feel like the first, I think, football game because of a lot of those factors when they end up kicking off on that day.
Agreed. And it's going to be. I wish that was one we could experience here, but it's going to be special. Kentucky, I like the campus of University of Kentucky. I like their stadium. I think it's a good place, and Mark Stoops has them playing really well and has built a program there. So I don't think that will be a walk in the park at all. At night is it Kroger Field now? I think is there.
Well, I do know that it's C.M. Newton Stadium, and when we walked in there during the championship year, and I said, "Okay, is somebody playing a joke on us?" Because Cam Newton is already owning the stadium, which he did that night. It was an incredible night for him. Yeah, I think it is Kroger Field now.
So it'll be a good atmosphere. I think you're right. That's going to be a good football night for Auburn, and the performance we'll have to see. I'm not where I want to be on that one yet.
Yep. And so after that one, we are returning home with the Vanderbilt Commodores for another early game. Now, I hate early games, but at least it's at home and it's against Vanderbilt. So, not to dismiss our very smart brethren in the SEC of Vanderbilt, I do appreciate that they will finally get to see how to properly construct and time a video board
That's
as
true.
an SEC stadium.
They'll get a first-hand look.
First-hand look, you know.
They'll drive into the away side of the stadium and they'll be like, "Oh, look.
Oh,
There
look,
it is."
you time it out so that you don't look like the laughing stock of the SEC because y'all couldn't properly get everything going. I get, folks, that there was rain, all that stuff that threw things behind,
Whatever.
but let's come on. Yeah, you're Vanderbilt. You should have known this. You're smarter than that. All right, or you're supposed to be. I don't have much more to say than it's Vanderbilt. You know,
That one will hopefully be a sigh of relief from a long road trip and a long trip away from home. But you know, Vanderbilt has played Auburn pesky sometimes in Jordan-Hare, so we'll see.
And they do have a certain quarterback that gave Auburn.
They do, and their the old head coach.
And we'll leave it there. Next one up, La Mo. This one also is at home. Louisiana Monroe, I guess I should say, for those that don't know what La Mo is.
The Warhawks.
I'll tell you who does know who La Mo is. Alabama. 11:45. So let me just point this out to you, Austin. We have got a list.
Kyle, you're going to make my blood pressure rise.
Why am I going to make your blood pressure rise?
Because we're talking about these times. Go ahead.
But
I'm ready.
We have a list of early, but we have this specific time for this game. And let me make your blood boil even more.
Find your happy place. Find the happy place.
Why is this not the homecoming game?
Kyle, I don't know. I don't make these decisions. You and I have discussed this. Why would you pick the perfect weather day? And why would you, instead of, why would you pick this day when we could all sweat together and think about our beautiful campus in September? I don't know.
It would just make too much sense, wouldn't it?
It wouldn't.
Look, again, similar to Vanderbilt, Auburn is going to be expected to win this one. We don't need to take anyone lightly, as last year, as certain other people have taken.
We're aware.
And as La Mo has not been taken seriously by other prominent programs in the state too, and suffered losses. So we will hopefully take them seriously and take care of business, which brings us to Texas A&M. This one, Austin, may end up being the game of the year in a sense. And I know that's a bit of a step out, but think about what could happen in this schedule. Wins and losses wise to this point. Auburn will have been through a very rough stretch on the road and then come home, place Vanderbilt, fight against La Mo. And then you get at last big home game against Texas A&M. I believe it will be Military Appreciation Day. It usually is with them if it's not already listed up. No, actually, it's the game before that. So I'm wrong.
It'll be Senior Day, though.
It'll be Senior Day. That's weird that we're not. I get we had to mix that up with Senior Day and stuff like that. But anyway, Texas A&M back here after they were embarrassed for the most part by Cadillac Williams in his debut in Jordan-Hare Stadium 2 years ago. This will be a fun one, I think, and for hopefully a night game. It's flex at this point.
That was my next question. Yeah, I hope that is very similar in the not in the way that it was turmoil leading up to that game and why it was so energetic, but hopefully the same energy is there for that last home game. Hopefully it's a night game and that we get that kind of atmosphere. I think it'd be great to have that. It will be, like you said, mid late November. And it'll be perfect weather. So that's going to be a great game. Mike Elko and his first year at Texas A&M. It'll be very interesting to see where they're at by then. But there's a lot of talent on that roster for him to work with. So we'll see. That's going to be one where the outcome could kind of shift how we look at the end result of the season. So not to say that game specifically, but where you are in records and things like that.
Yep. And keep in mind, folks, that if Auburn has a very respectable year up to that point, and so does Texas A&M, it may be very intriguing to a lot of TV providers and I guess ESPN and ABC who own the SEC now to potentially put that in a primetime game. So we'll watch that one very eagerly, but of course, take care of the business up there. Speaking of business, the final one, as it always is, the greatest rivalry in college football, the greatest rivalry in college sports, the greatest rivalry, and this is where I get in trouble, but I don't care, in sports, Auburn versus Alabama in Tuscaloosa, a flex time kickoff, which means it will still most likely be at a midday kickoff, which is what it's supposed to be. Let's be honest. I mean, I know we love our
You
night
think it will
games.
be?
I don't see
I'm not sold on
how.
that.
I don't see how you don't put it there, because we know that Michigan, Ohio State's going to have that 11 o'clock slot, as it
Right.
always has. They're going to want to flow that nicely over. I know it's different channels and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I just don't see how that formula doesn't continue to work for TV providers. I would love a night game anywhere in the Iron Bowl, but I just think it's going to be the two.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of think it's going to be a night game, and cap the day off, but we'll see. I think the storyline with this one, in a weird way, as we're talking about it on Auburn show, it really has nothing to do with Auburn. It's going to be Kalen DeBoer's first Iron Bowl.
Right.
He gets his first Iron Bowl at home, and so I think that is a place Auburn hasn't won in 14 years. So I think that they will be very interesting what kind of season they've had up till that point. There's tons of talent on that roster for him still. And he's a smart coach. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the storylines are going into that game. On the contrast, this is Hugh Freeze's first Iron Bowl in Tuscaloosa. After playing them so closely last year and losing on heartbreak. So it will be a fantastic game. It always is. The build up and lead up to it will be fantastic. And like you said, Kyle, I know that it has been rough sledding here for Auburn fans over the last few years in this game. It is still the best rivalry. And I look forward to it every year.
And every year you throw the records out, you
That's
throw
right.
the storylines out, and you go play football. And a lot of time magic happens for both sides. But more often than not, it feels like it happens for the Auburn Tigers. So we'll see if that continues this year in T-Town. Regardless, it's going to be a fun one there. Fun one for the rest of the season. So we have now previewed everything, the first half, the second half. Next week, look forward to it. Our predictions are coming up for you. Before we get into predictions, before we start even thinking about the first game, I think one of the things that's important for you and I as Auburn experience aficionados, if we want to call that ourselves that, Austin, is talking about what the fans are going to experience when they come to Auburn, Alabama for 5 games in a row to start off the year, none in October, and a few in November when you visit Jordan-Hare Stadium. And I think this is a time where, again, you and I talk about the slot. We need to give a lot of credit to 1,000 different people, but I think one person we always give a shout out to is Rhett Hobart, his team,
Absolutely.
the rest of the facilities, the fan experience team. They are continuing their crusade, I think is not too strong a word, to amp up the experience for Auburn people in the facilities, in the overall game day experiences. They're doing such a great job still.
Yes, no, absolutely. I mean, it feels like ever since Rhett and his team got here, they have hit the ground running on helping out and implementing some ideas they have. And I think for the large part, it has been a seamless transition, and there's been a lot of great experiences added, things that help things move efficiently.
Yep.
And we'll get into some of that, but I think in large part that's concession stands and things like that help you get out of your seat and back into your seat as quickly as you'd like.
Yeah. And so keep in mind, most of the things we'll talk about here are specific to Jordan-Hare, but some of these are outside of Jordan-Hare, just overall enhancements, experiences that you can have. Let's start right with what you talked about, concessions, because I've got, and I know you do too, firsthand experience with this last year and how much more efficiently with just a few trial things that they did with whether it was the express beverage snack experience, they call them the fast flight grab and go experiences. There was, I forget how many last year, but they're at 4. And so now they're adding to that. I think it was a huge success because let's be honest, most people are hoping to get in and out of that line quickly to not miss any of the action because everybody's trying to, for the most part, avoid the lines that happen at the end of the quarters, the halftime. If somebody's trying to, when there's a dead period, run out there real quick, grab something and not get a full meal, because I think most people want like a Conecuh dog, maybe a Chick-fil-A sandwich, a bag of chips, cotton candy, stuff like that. all those things, not the Chick-fil-A sandwich part, but those small items that are like handheld in a sense, you're going to be able to get those again this year in a very fast fashion. Did you use these at all last year?
We did. Yeah. My wife used it as well. I normally don't leave my seat. Like I don't know if I'm like become mentally crazy and I just don't have hunger during the game, but I just don't think about food. Like I do not worry about food. Like I am locked in and just I don't, I think I have a lot of PTSD from the lines and the getting backed up and I can't stand it. My seats are also quite up a flight of stairs and I'm like I don't want to deal with it. And so I have not usually, but we did last year, and that was kind of one of those things where I was like, okay, this isn't so bad. You can get in there, get your stuff, pay quick, and you're back out in a second. So I really like it. I think it is very modern and into the new era of things. I think that there's still jobs with it. I think that's still important. There's still people there monitoring and helping you out. But I think it's a great way, and it has been an extreme asset for Auburn.
Well, and think about it too. So yes, you're still creating, there's still a job aspect that you're creating with that, even though you're automating in a sense some of these things.
Right.
It's moving people quickly, getting them back into their seats. It's also keeping that congestion in some of those areas down.
That's right.
Because you're not having the lines continuing to back up. And this is not even really a reflection of is the service line itself, that the main one, too slow. This is just the fact there's a bunch of people, 88,000 people all at some point.
So many people
getting hungry, bathrooms, all that stuff, trying to keep things flowing nicely in a stadium that is quite old at this point and is limited in its resizing of things. But maybe a little bit more about that actually. So they do bring up in the release about the north end zone renovation. And I know we're all focused on the video board about that, but what was continually missed about all this is, yes, the video board is the main focus of this renovation, but it's also about the future and what is currently happening. As part of this renovation with the video board, there was a re-envisioning, an enhancing of the concourse and the flooring there to better help with some of that traffic flow. And I know for you, as someone in your seats are there, this is really up your alley right now.
Yes, no, I mean as lame and boring as it sounds, that excites me the most because that area back there, it gets very congested. There's just so much traffic that goes through, especially around halftime. And so to see them continually make sure, hey, we know that this is the area that needs to expand. This is an area that needs to be looked at and renovated. We're going to make sure we have all the tools in place to do that. So I love hearing that. I'm increasingly excited about what could happen back there to make things a little better.
A few other things to keep in mind for the students: expanded student section in the upper deck. And this is mainly because of the demand. And you know how difficult at times it was to compete in some aspects for certain spots as a student. I know I did. I literally to compete in basically student section Olympics to reserve our very coveted seats for many years.
Where were those? Where were your coveted seats? Just
so
side note.
I'll tell exactly where it is. And I think this is where the group that I sat with, the Auburn BCM, still does to this day try to get. It is the most right side. If you're coming into the stadium of the student section in the lower bowl, on the 40-yard line, there's the fence line that comes up and juts over from the, down below. It's basically right where the gate is to the main seating areas over on that side. That is some of the most perfect and highly coveted seats because you have the best view in the student section. But here's the reality, Austin. More seats, more students, more noise is coming this year for the Auburn Tigers in Jordan-Hare Stadium. These students got to be excited about this.
Oh yeah, and if you get in the stadium early, and when the students get in way early, but if you get in there at your time, you've already seen the student section fill up, and they're already moving people up the top. That just becomes a little more official now. That is going to be officially student section reserved seating. I think it's great. I hate that they can't all be down in the lower bowl and make the impact that they do, but it just elevates that noise and hopefully that they stay loud up there as loud as they are down closer to the field.
I have a feeling that they will be. So that's adding to the atmosphere. A couple other things to note here. A new playing surface for the Auburn Tigers here. The field turf has been replaced. This feels like something that Clint would be like super stoked about. I feel So if you were worried at all about the turf looking worn and stuff, it has been completely replaced. New goalposts at each end of the end zone. So in a world where there are conversations about Jordan-Hare needs to be enhanced, Jordan-Hare needs to be expanded, they are investing in what they can as we build up towards maybe some of those bigger moments of things by taking care of the field, taking care of the new goalposts and things like that. We talked about expanding the student section. Here's a really cool thing, and it was an experiment, I think, last year, that the special seats that you had down there in the corners that were high premium value seats that a lot of people questioned whether they were something that needed to happen, but I think the people that bought them and paid for them every week showed that they were of value to somebody. They're going to be permanent this year. So you've got those new permanent premium seats at the field level that are going to be there for forever. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, they definitely added them. I'll be honest, I'm a nostalgic fan and loved the flower beds.
I did too.
But I understand it. That is, I think John Cohen has mentioned before that there is a lack of premium seating options for Auburn fans, but the demand is there. And so to create these get creative and do these different ideas is well within their power. And it looks like they struck gold with this one. So I'm sure someone will happily invite Kyle and I to sit with them this year down there, and we would happily take you up on that offer. Until then, we will just look from afar.
I will wave at you from the upper deck and look long,
like Forrest Gump style.
Yes, literally in the corner up there. Just, hey, look at me.
Yeah.
And look at me, because I found the only bit of shade that's going to be in that stadium. That's maybe a hint where I'm sitting at. I've been strategic, folks, about where I choose my season tickets up there these days, because, boy, it's going to be hot for 5 games in a row. Final thing that I want to know, this is not the end of the list that they gave us in our email from the athletic department, but I love this. Friday night guided stadium tours, like as an enhancement to the already free and open locker room tours that you can do. They're going to take you to the press box, the post-game media interview rooms, where the War Eagles flights originate from. They're going to take all that. That's just something cool. Like, if you got the money, you want to spend that kid, think about how cool that is for a little kid.
Oh yeah.
Talk about, this is where the guy on the radio calls it from. This is where the Eagle flies from. We went where the coach does their radio show after the game. And I got to already go through the locker room stuff. That's just cool.
Yeah, I think that is a thing that might not be as cool to a lot of people. It might look like a money grab, but for a dad and their kids, or for a school group for their birthday, for a kid's birthday or something like that, that's going to be an incredible experience. So and the fact, I think a lot of people complain about, why isn't Jordan-Hare open during the week? Why can't we go run stadiums in there? And why are they so locked off on it? I think this is a way for them to open it up a little bit. I know it's just Fridays during the football season, but it's a one step, and it's a cool thing for a lot of people to get to do. I don't think they'll have any shortage of people wanting to do that.
Oh yeah, I think it'll be something that's people are very excited about, and I'm sure we'll get lots of views on people's Instagrams and stuff of like, look what we saw, all that kind of stuff. So that is a short overview of some of the major things from the list of enhancements. We did a similar thing about this last year as we were getting started, and it felt appropriate to do that for you all tonight. So let us know what your favorite is. And obviously, I know there will always be conversations about what else is needed, but for now, you see the investment being laid now in Jordan-Hare Stadium, the experience there. Trust that more is coming in due time. That is episode 90 for the Auburn Experience podcast. I want to give a shout out to Nick Fairley. I'm going to steal it from you.
These are the two I had. Go for it.
I'm stealing it from you. Number 90, Nick Fairley, still the bane of the Georgia Bulldogs' existence and various other teams as well. Do you have another one?
Oh, Gabe Wright, 9-0 Rhino, the man after, famously wore the not Nick Fairley hat at A-Day the year after. So those are the two. Those are the two. I got some big boys.
So we'll give those guys as a shout out for episode 90. If you want to keep up with me, you can do so on X at Kyle Loomis 24. Where can they find you?
Yeah, Austin at Austin G Scott, X, Instagram. We're getting closer, Kyle. Each episode that comes down, we're getting closer.
Yes, we are. We are very close to the season, very close to 100.
We are. I thought about that mid show.
It's gonna be here before you know it. So we'll maybe think about doing something special for that in the future. But for now, thank you for tuning in, watching, listening, however you got here. Thanks for being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Till we talk to you again, War Eagle.
War Eagle.